I quickly realized that as nice as people are, it's a dog-eat-dog type of world out there.
So can you share your morning routine with everyone and how that's important in your day?
The first thing I do is I go into my steam sauna, about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I go and I do a cold plunge at 3 degrees Celsius for 3 minutes. All great things happen outside the comfort zone, and that's why I think it's so important to build mental calluses in order to be able to move forward. You know, if people did whatever they want, I can guarantee you that majority of the population would never leave their house.
Hi everyone, Levon is here with Built in Canada, and today we are shooting our next episode. And before, please like and subscribe. As I mentioned, during my real estate career, I was meeting with people that they are building their career or their businesses, and I would like to share their experience with you. And my today's guest is Victor. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We met approximately a year ago, maybe, to our friend, and we had nice conversation, and I found that there is a lot of things that you can share with other people as well, that they will get inspired from you, and there's a lot of things. I myself, I want to learn how you are doing all these things at the same time.
I was inspired by you.
So we will have a easy conversation.
Of course.
So I know that you moved to Canada when you were in a school.
Yeah.
More about the decision, who made decision, why Canada, if you remember, and about your feelings when you moved to Canada.
Yeah, no, of course, I definitely remember. So my father was an engineer, was always a hardworking guy, and he worked for a top engineering company back in Moldova. But as he kept working with the economy, back home, he realized that the opportunities are just going to be more and more limited year over year. So he was looking out for my brother and I, what's our future going to look like? What are the opportunities going to be for us? So he started looking, he explored a few different options, and Canada was really at the top of the list given, its opportunities, economy, the inclusivity and everything else. So, it took us 8 years to actually get accepted and immigrate.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a long time. And I still remember, ending up here with no English, so nobody knew any English. We showed up with a high buy and just the attitude to learn, to develop, to outwork people and build something.
So there are how old you were?
14.
14.
Yeah.
And 14 years old, sometimes at that age, you don't want to move to another place. You have your friends, environment, school. So you were thinking to move, you were part of the family that, okay, I want to move to Canada, or okay, family decided to move to Canada, then I have to move.
No. So I think for my brother and I, we definitely didn't want to move. Like you mentioned, we had everything established. We were part of several sports teams. We had our school established. All our friends are there. We're living our best life. It's fine. We were not thinking about the future. At that age, we're not really thinking about what are the opportunities here versus Canada. And the challenges that come with it. You're leaving your friends behind, your distant family behind, and so on. And you have to come learn a completely new language. And the biggest thing is the fear of the unknown. You really don't know what's going to be on the other side. But it was one of those things, I think, in the last 6 months before we left, I started embracing it and just understand that, listen, this is happening. It's really, what are we going to do with it? But no, if you ask me at that age, did I want to move? The answer would be no.
Okay, you moved to Canada, and I believe the first 2-3 years, or maybe it was not easy to accept whatever you've seen here. It's a totally different environment that you had. It's not good or bad, but it's not the same environment that you've been at 14, 15 years old. So which kind of challenges you had, or how you easily accepted the society around you?
So I'll tell you right away, I think anyone that moves from any country to Canada, unless maybe it's the States or something like that, it's a big culture shock. You see a lot of different things here. Things are very different, and the people are very different. So Canada, right off the bat, I can say that people are very nice. One thing I realized right off the bat, I didn't have a lot of interactions with a lot of different cultures back home, because that was just a limitation. We didn't have a lot of people from different backgrounds. But the first thing I realized, and still remember my first teacher, she was obviously not Moldovan, and she's one of the most influential people to this day. So to me, I quickly realized that people can teach you a lot of things from a lot of different backgrounds. So it was very inclusive. But as I grew up and started realizing what Canada is like and what business is like, and especially GTA, I quickly realized that as nice as people are, it's a dog-eat-dog type of world out there. It's very aggressive.
Interesting.
But one thing I also realized, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you deliver on your promises, people are going to give you a chance.
Oh, nice. So then you've been in a high school. What was your goal when you start to understand, okay, this is my future. I'm going to stay in Canada. I'm going to live in Canada. And you start to think about your future. Which kind of dreams you start to build at that time? And when you started, okay, this is the direction that I have to take.
I think it was more of acceptance. Obviously the first year was difficult. You're learning a new culture, a new language, and everything else. But part of it is recognizing that it doesn't matter if you're, going away for vacation, but this is the place you're coming back. This is the place where you have to think about building a future. And as I was going into my senior years of high school, I'm really trying to plan things. And at least with Canada, I think it's very difficult because they make you make a decision about which career path you want to take in high school. But the reality is, a high school kid, especially in Canada, where the education system is kind of soft in high school and it gets a lot more difficult in the university stage, people really don't know what they want to do. For me, though, I ended up going the engineering route simply because my father and my grandpa was an engineer.
It's interesting. So you went to the engineering, and then how you switched to the path that you are in finance?
So funny enough, even growing up, I would always watch TV, and watch like movies and things like that. And everyone in the finance world, the way they would dress, the way they would behave, the help clients, it was something always very appealing to me, but I had no idea what that is, As a 14-year-old that first came here, I knew nothing about banking, it didn't faze me. I'm just a kid, I'm looking to play sports, just go to school. That's what it was. But as I ended up being going to university for engineering, I just, as the years kept going by, I just quickly realized it's just not something that I'm passionate about. So just year over year that kept going by, I just felt more lost and lost. And it came to a point where, you keep hearing people say things like, if you don't enjoy what you do, then you're going to be counting the minutes until your day is over. And vice versa, people would say that if you enjoy what you do, you never have to work a day in your life.
Right.
So for me, it was one of those things. I'm like, you know what? After 2.5 years of engineering, I decided that I want to take a chance with something. That's not to say that it's going to work out, but it's just to take a chance. I knew I always had the option to come back to engineering should I want to, but I wanted to give finance a chance. So what I ended up doing is I ended up applying to TD as an entry-level position. And that was my beginning journey in finance.
So you start to see yourself in finance and build a career in finance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think when I first applied, I didn't really know what to expect. The idea of working for a bank sounded great on paper, but obviously doing the job is completely different. It was a simple entry-level position, which is Easy Web and Easy Line. For people that don't know what that is, it's telephone banking, which can be pretty tough because, people with problems often call. Very few people that are happy call, at least that department. But I quickly realized that it wasn't about that. I truly enjoyed working for an organization like that, working for a bank, helping people solve problems. So to me, I quickly realized after doing a few months at TD that this is the career path I want to stay on. But from a university point of view, rather than just going back and completing, switching to a business program, I didn't want to make that step just yet, simply because looking at career opportunities, at least in the banking side, not too many people cared about, let's say a business administration degree. They were always looking, let's say, at a degree or equivalent work experience. However, equivalent work experience was more valued. Now, once you go to an MBA level and it's looking at the executive options, of course, that type of stuff makes a difference. But, I was in my early stages, so for me, that didn't really matter.
Okay, so let's stop here about your career and the building, whatever you are building now. We will come back to that.
Sure.
So I know that your quick changes, like you are in a position you are changing very quick, is what I found that the discipline that you have is very, very important. Like talking about back to your discipline and your schedule and daily.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation about your morning routine. So can you share your morning routine with everyone and how that important in your day?
Listen, I think that the routine itself, that's where success starts. And I really picked that up from my father, who was a professional gymnast, and he has a very strict routine. So I wake up at 5 a.m. every day. It doesn't matter if it's a weekend. It doesn't matter if I had a late night the day before. I wake up at 5 a.m. The first thing I do is I go into my steam sauna, about 10 to 15 minutes. And then I go and I do a cold plunge at 3 degrees Celsius for 3 minutes. So I can tell you
Winter, summer.
Doesn't matter. All year round, all year round. Something like that for me, like of course there's physical benefits to it, but the biggest benefit that I can say to something like that is the psychological benefit.
Okay.
And it's very hard to explain until you actually try it yourself, but the simplest way I can say it, it resets you mentally. It doesn't matter what you're going through life. It doesn't matter, what's happening at this time point. You're gonna feel better once you come out. You're gonna feel more energized. You're gonna reset. Things are just gonna be better. Things are gonna be easier.
So what you are saying, you are not waking up every morning and picking up the phone and scrolling down?
No, no, no. In fact, I don't even touch my phone until I get in my car
Yeah.
and I start driving to work.
And like how long you are doing it?
So I've been doing it for about 2 years now, but even before that, I would do variations of that. So I didn't have a sauna before, for example, but I would go around for a quick jog around the neighborhood. So it still raises the body temperature. I would take a cold shower. So it's not the same as a cold plunge, but it has similar effects. I think it's just about putting my body in an uncomfortable situation and just be mentally adapting and being able to tell myself that I can do things that I don't want to do, but I know I have to do them.
Do you think that the same system is applied in our life in different aspects, that we have to put ourselves in uncomfortable position to move forward?
Absolutely. I am a true believer that all great things happen outside the comfort zone. And that's why I think it's so important to build mental calluses in order to be able to move forward. If people did whatever they want, I can guarantee you that majority of the population would never leave their house.
I see.
That's just the reality. If you ask the average person, do they want to eat a healthy meal or something that's simple, that's maybe not as unhealthy? Those are the choices. People just go with the easy choice.
Right, it's easy choices there. So then you back to your career. So it came time then you start to manage a big teams.
Yes.
One of the big banks. I don't want to go to
Yes,
the
yes.
names. So you, at your young age, you start to manage a big teams.
Yes.
How you were handling those kind of things physically as well? Because some people's the biggest, they are scary, like, oh, I'm young, I'm not able to do that. Or I'm old, I'm not able to do that. If I have money, I will do that. If like those kind of excuses always exist, right? So how in your case you start to handle being young to managing those kind of big teams?
It's interesting because managing people, I don't think that you can just write a specific formula or specific way to manage people because everyone is just so different. But I think it starts with you as a person. You have to truly believe in the message that you're delivering, and you have to truly want to help people. And if they recognize that, and not everyone recognizes it at the same rate, sometimes it takes people longer than others. But if you continue to achieve great things, it's only a matter of time before everyone just has to accept that. So I think it's just, especially in business, you can't take anything personal. You're going to come across some people that maybe may not agree with you, may be against you, whatever the case is. You have to believe in your message. You have to believe in your mission. And as long as you keep doing it and results will follow, it's very hard to deny success.
Is there any stories of challenges that you had during those times?
Oh, absolutely. I've had people tell me that they've been with the bank longer than I've been alive, and I should not be telling them how to run their business. But the reality is, you start pointing at simple things. It has nothing to do with me, start reviewing their performance, for example, year over year. Especially in the banking industry, where just in general, I think in the real estate industry as well, everything changes so fast. So if someone has, let's say, 30 years experience, that's great, but everything could have changed in the last 6 months. So your 30 years experience could really almost be irrelevant if you didn't adapt in the last 6 months alone. But I think the most successful people are always going to be the ones that recognize that change is happening, and this has nothing to do with age. If you look at a lot of successful people, they started pretty much kids under 30 and end up achieving great things. So I don't think age has anything to do with it personally. Yes, if you look at statistically, the people that are usually older, they're wiser, they have more experience, but there's always people that are younger that accomplish great things. So I think if someone has an open mind to learning and wanting to improve, then age has nothing to do with it. So to me, like I said, I always just kept having my mission where I just move forward and I don't let things bother me. I don't let people bother me when people would judge me. The reality is when I first joined the leadership team, I was by far the youngest leader. I had, in fact, again, I had two of my peers who have been with the bank longer than I've been alive. Then the people that I managed, there was one person that, again, was with the bank longer than I've been alive, and everyone else was older than me. The top performers always have a top performer mindset where they know that a leader, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter how old you are, it's all about the results you can deliver. I always notice that it's the bottom performers that are the most closed-minded, that are always looking to point fingers and not accept certain things. But in the industry and in life in general, we never focus on those people. That's just the reality.
So during those times, like, have you had any days that maybe I am growing so fast I have to a little bit slow down, or you were like even enjoying and okay, I have to, which kind of mindset did you have?
Oh no, absolutely no. I was never like that. In fact, I enjoyed the envy that some people would say, well, maybe he got this job because he knew somebody, or maybe he got this position because of luck. Whatever the case is, people would come up with reasons, with excuses, whatever it is. To me, I always took it as a compliment because they assumed that I'm not here because of merit, implying that it's so hard to get to this position at this age because of merit, and I would take that as a compliment. That's just the reality. So to me, I'm like, never focus on that. Just keep moving forward. But funny enough, even the people that really had the problem with certain things in the beginning, they would all end up accepting me at the end and just thank me at the end of the day. I've had so many people thank me for my leadership and for the guidance and mentorship and everything I was able to get them. And to me, that's where I take pride in.
I see.
I enjoy seeing people grow. And that's not necessarily to say just my team. I enjoy seeing my peers grow because let's say, hypothetically speaking, let's say I'm slightly better than my peer. If I help my peer grow and all of a sudden we're on the same level, I start asking myself, well, listen, I used to be better and now we're on the same level. I need to keep the same gap.
Right.
So if my peers are improving, it makes me want to improve. It's kind of like playing team sports, growing up. That's just the reality. You want your teammates to get better, but so they push you to get better. So everyone gets better at the same time.
If you will start again, like I'm not saying you finish, like, but if you will start again to the same path, is there anything that you will start to do in different way?
Yeah, I just think, especially in the younger age, so easy to question your choices. Are you on the right path? Are you in the right career? Are you doing the right things? Because sometimes people just get too fixated on what they're doing. Let's say even engineering, for example, because that's what I had experience with. I have a lot of friends that are engineers, and they're too fixated on the fact that they wanted to become an engineer, even though their primary goal was, earning potential. But they were also refusing to leave the GTA. And if you look at simple statistics at what engineers earn in the GTA, it's kind of sad because there's so many engineers in the GTA that companies take advantage of hiring engineers, giving them non-engineering titles, but asking them to do engineering jobs. So as a result, you see people working hard as engineers, but they're not reaching their earning potential. So I think that's as a result, I was also thinking the same way in every role that I went. So to me, if I had to do it all over again, I would just not question whatever I do. That's it. Whatever I'm doing, I would say 100% it's the right choice because the mentality should be simple. Either you win or you learn, but you never lose. So as long as the same mentality applies, I think sky's the limit.
So you can do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. When there is no option to lose. Lose is when you are quit. That's a losing part when you are quitting that. Yeah, that part is good. So, but at the same time, it's about engineering. So I believe there are so many good engineers there. It's about improving and continuing. When you are doing something just for money, you are not getting the same result when you are enjoying the process, whatever you are doing. And it's all about whatever you are doing, doesn't matter. But if you're enjoying the process, I'm always asking if you will, like all my guests, I believe, I'm asking if you will do the same thing without getting paid. Would you do the same thing? They were like, yes. Because it's not the first thing to money. The money is important, but the first thing they are enjoying the process, that what they are doing. What kind of suggestions would you give someone who is starting after university and they are starting their career? What kind of suggestions, book, I don't know, programs would you suggest for them?
So I think books are important because there's a lot of books out there. So if you're in the business, I would suggest looking into business books. But one thing that's very important, and I really learned this from a leader early in my career who told me, I asked him, what's your biggest regret? He said, not trying enough things. And I think when you're young, don't limit yourself. Try things. So if you end up trying something and you really enjoy it, I'm not suggesting that you go and try different things, work on it. But if you tried something, let's say if it's even in your field, but you're not enjoying it, don't be afraid to try something else. Because if you enjoy something else, it's like you mentioned, it comes natural. That's why those people are much more successful when they enjoy what they do, because they're not limited by the 40-hour week where they're looking at 9 to 5 and boom, 5 o'clock, it's time to leave. It's more the opposite. Are you so passionate about what you do, you're not leaving until the job is done. But at the same time, it's not mentally or physically exhausting because you genuinely are doing what you enjoy. And that's how those people become successful. They become masters of their craft.
Any book that changed your life?
Never Finished by David Goggins is actually
Yeah,
really
you
good.
never
I will
finish.
say that it doesn't necessarily apply to on the specific business, but it's about mental toughness. And I think the reality is everyone went through some mental toughness, and this has nothing to do with money. People often say, "Well, you grew up maybe in a." I didn't grow up in a rich family, but some people grow up in rich families, and people will just say, "Well, you grew up in rich families, you don't understand what that means," and that's not true. Everyone goes through their own challenges. I think it's the same way, or maybe if you had a successful older sibling and then the expectations all on you and maybe you're not as successful. So I just think everyone has those type of pressures, and it's important to build mental resiliency where you're just able to overcome things and just keep moving forward. I don't think it's necessarily important to compare yourself to your, peers or family members, whatever it is. Compare yourself to the person you were yesterday, to the person you
Right.
were last week, the person you were last year. Are you improving or are you not?
Yeah, I like that part when you are competing with yourself every day to become better than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult competition. From my experience, I can say
Yeah.
that's when we don't like to compete with ourselves, right? We want to always compete with others because it's more easy. We don't want to see ourselves from the side and say, okay, we're not winning ourselves.
Right.
What's your goal in the future?
So I'd like to still think that I'm still young. I'm 34 years old. I don't want to stop. I'm continuing my growth. Like I learned so much from the bank. I ended up moving into a brokerage where I'm now head of sales and I'm managing several different departments. And it's an ongoing growing opportunity. I just think it's important for everyone to continuously try and grow. And that's not to say that leave your employer. Let's say you even stay in the same position. That's okay. Ask yourself, are you still growing or are you just getting by? So to me, I always look for growth, but growth comes in different aspects. Sometimes it's monetary, sometimes it's skill wise, sometimes it's industry wise, just whatever it is, keep growing. The thing is, the industry that we're in, we can't even do the same thing every day because the market changes, the demographics changes, the laws change, everything is changing all the time and it affects our business every day. But even if none of that were changing, we're getting more and more daily competition. Everyone wants to enter the industry thinking that it's easy to make money, but it's not. That's just the reality. It's not. But at the same time, we're still competing with more people. So we always have to adapt. We always have to keep growing. So to me, it's just about consistent growth. And I think once you reach a certain point, you decide, is this the time to slow down? Is this the time to kind of go back? And I think that point is different for everyone. I know a lot of people chase early retirement, but I think it's also those people that are not necessarily enjoying what they do. They might be good
Yeah,
at what they do, but they might not be enjoying. But I think if you enjoy what you do and you're in
you don't
charge
want to
of
get
your own
retired.
business, then you decide when you want to stop
Right.
working, because
You
it doesn't
don't,
feel
you
like
never,
work.
you don't want to stop.
It doesn't feel like work. That's just the biggest thing.
I believe one of the success that you are managing teams is because recently I was meeting one of your team members,
Yes.
and then when I asked like how you work together, they're like, okay, we're now making breakfast in an office together. So you are taking care of everything,
Yeah.
starting from the health of your workers, team members, you are sharing with those kind of things. And I found that the biggest connection happening when you are not only thinking about them as a team member from the business point of view, but also you are thinking about them as a person, human, that how else you can help them to grow. So which kind of environment, except the business wise, you are trying to build in your team?
Listen, I think it's for me, like I said, leadership always came naturally. I grew up playing sports and I played both individual sports and team sports where I was a captain, but even in the team sports where I was not a captain, it still came naturally for me to help people. If I'm doing something that's working for me, I'm not trying to hide that. I'm telling my peers that maybe aren't having as much success. I'm like, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. That's what's working for me. And I think it translates into every aspect of life. So the breakfast part, for example, it's very easy for people to eat unhealthy. You
Can
have
you give
a
a heads up? What are you doing?
yeah, no, I'll give the specific thing.
Because
So
it's a
people will go downstairs and they'll pick up, let's say, a sandwich. It's not necessarily unhealthy, but I think it's the mindset. You just pick up a sandwich versus at the office. I literally brought supplies for overnight oats, which is something very simple, but it's easy to make. I mean, it's not going to be the world's best thing, but it's healthy, it's nutritious, it's easy to make, and it doesn't make you feel sluggish after you eat it.
right.
So I told people, listen, I'm going to make 10 portions at a time. Whoever comes to the office, if you see it in the fridge, help yourself. And naturally, some people will want to do it. I think just people want to improve, but sometimes people just need a push. And
Right.
sometimes people don't even know where to start. For example, when it comes to the gym, everyone's just that hasn't been working out is always very intimidated by the gyms. Like there's so many machines, there's so many things, but there's no need to overthink. Start with simple things. If you're trying to get into better physical shape, For example, our office on the 8th floor, I told people, take the stairs up.
Oh,
Start taking the stairs up. So
yeah,
now
that's
half
one
of
of
our
the things they mentioned, that we now
half
we're taking stairs.
half of our office is now taking the stairs. That's just the reality. It's a small thing. It really, literally takes probably 2.5 minutes
All
to
right.
go up the stairs, but it changes your mentality. It changes the way you feel, changes the way you think. All of a sudden, that's 2 extra minutes to take the stairs, but you feel better. You feel like you've done something. It pushes you to maybe eat healthier. It pushes you to maybe now I want to look into the gym. I think it's just a waterfall effect. You start doing one right thing and the other things just keep following. And I think it's the same thing with leadership, just from every aspect. Again, I'm not hiding. If someone's going to say, hey, listen, like I see you're in pretty good shape. What do you do for that? I won't hide. I'll tell them, listen, it doesn't have to be rocket science. I've never had a personal trainer, a nutritionist, a chef, or anything like that. And by no means am I a good cook, but you can just pick up basic recipes that don't take a lot of time, because that's my favorite thing when people say I don't have enough time. You hear this in every aspect of life. But the reality is these things take 2 extra minutes. And if you actually want to put it on paper, it's actually even faster to make, let's say, this overnight oats versus waiting in line, going to a breakfast place, waiting in line, getting that sandwich, going back to your office, taking time to eat it versus overnight oats. Simple, and you can eat it on the go.
That's what I like. Like I feel that your discipline is the number one, and the when
Yeah.
it's a connecting and the building team. If you will have a chance to go with a lunch with someone, who would you choose, and which kind of question would you ask?
I'll take Levon for lunch.
Okay,
Get
I
to
will
know
wait
more.
for that.
Get to know more about you. Like I'm genuinely always looking to learn, and I see what people are doing differently, and it can be different industries, different backgrounds, different age groups, but it's always so inspirational because you were not born in Canada. You
No,
came
I
here
moved.
and you built things out of nothing. That's just the reality. And when I see people do certain things like that, it's very inspirational to me. And you see a lot of take people, younger people in your profession, everyone's on their phone, social media this, social media that, and it's no secret, I'm not a social media wizard by any means, but it's easier for these younger kids to adapt to certain things
Right.
like that. But not only are you adapting, you're overcoming, and you're just being better at them, at something that they pretty much grew up with. And to me, things like that they're simple, they're inspirational, and even from keeping contact, like you mentioned, yes, we've
Yeah.
been in talks for over a year now. We've been to events together, I worked at different companies, and we're still doing things.
Right. No, I'm always enjoying when we're having this conversation. That's why I believe that giving back is very important as well. And I was like, when I came to Canada, it was like short of information. I couldn't get enough information. That's why this topic and all the point of this program is about that. People like you will share and inspire people that just need that inspiration. And I believe a lot of people are interested in it. Thank you very much for coming and joining this show. And thank you for sharing your stories with everyone who really needs that. And I want to ask everyone to like and subscribe to the show and share this information with everyone who will be interested. And I want to say thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.